the Rickover program was what got the commercial nuclear industry started in the U.S. because he took his submarine reactor program and applied it to the civilian side. And once he demonstrated that it could be done, the industry took over. And he tried to imbue the same principles that he had put into us in the Navy into the commercial program as well. The attention to detail, the need to be technically competent before you could operate reactor plants or supervise their operations. He, because of the Navy environment, required the operators to also be able to maintain and repair the equipment. So we, at sea, obviously, you don't have an engineering department separate from the operations crew to come in and do the maintenance and repairs. You have to do it yourself. So I felt we were much more rounded in the Navy than in the commercial industry, but the safety aspects, the verbatim compliance principles with operating procedures, the need to train and get qualified before you were allowed to operate reactors and their associated engineering plants on your own, the constant training, the oversight and review. These principles led to things such as the NRC for commercial nuclear power. They led to the establishment of INPO, which was initially manned mostly by ex-Navy folks. The 3 Mile Island accident gave it a lot of impetus also to get started, but INPO tried to imbue a lot of those principles that Rickover taught the Navy operators into the commercial industry, and it was very successful, and it continues to this day. So I've been very influenced, and I felt that the lessons learned and the approach that I learned under Rickover's program has been applied to not just my Navy career, but in everything I've done since, even if it wasn't directly related to operating nuclear reactors. And as you know, in the Department of Energy, we're overseeing and managing technical people out at the national laboratories and the universities. They know what they're doing in their endeavors in research. Our oversight from the department, though, is not intended to look over their shoulders and watch everything they're doing and give them detailed direction at every step. It's more of an oversight to ensure that the safety is maintained, that the long-term goals of the program are looked after, and to provide some general direction. So I've learned that, and I've tried to apply it in my role as a DOE manager. Many of the things I just said about oversight and management of technical people are the main things that I've tried to do throughout my career. I learned at a young age that the chiefs on the ship were the backbone of the Navy. So these were operators who had been around for 10 to 20 years that knew a lot more than I did as a young Lieutenant JG, 23, 24 years old. So you had to rely on those experienced people, and you didn't take advantage of your rank or position to give them direction when you knew that you didn't know what you were talking about. But as you became more technically competent, you were able to communicate better your desires in a manner that made the operators, the people that worked for you, want to do the same things and go in the same direction that you did. So that was the leadership principle that I've tried to apply in overseeing research programs at the DOE. So those principles of leadership, I think I learned them early, and I've tried to use them throughout my career. I was going to mention the fact that in the Navy, one of your jobs, since you were only in a position for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then you moved on to another job, one of your jobs was to train your relief, to make sure that the people that were immediately under you in the chain of command knew everything that you did. So that's another leadership principle that I've tried to apply, and now I'm a Deputy Assistant Secretary acting. I've got office directors under me. I try to make sure that they know what I'm thinking all the time so that when I'm not there, they can make the decisions and they would be the same ones I would make. I think our DOE planning and project management are similar. There have been OECM, Office of Engineering and Construction Management, personnel here at the department who had military backgrounds. So that experience was brought to the DOE, and I think that it helped. A lot of the DoD practices that were proven to be very effective I've seen incorporated into the DOE training programs. So I think we've learned a lot from the military in the Department of Energy. And when I first came into DOE in 1990, Admiral Watkins was the Secretary of Energy. And he had brought a lot of the principles that he managed in the Navy, and he was a nuclear trained officer as well. And I saw a lot of his practices at DOE were very similar to what I had seen in the Navy. Now, when Admiral Watkins left and Hazel O'Leary came in, a lot of those went away. And that was unfortunate for the department because she was not of the same background and did not believe in some of the rigor. And of course, out in the field, there was general opposition to the rigor that had been imposed upon them by the Tiger teams and that type of thing. They should have retained those activities, I think, in my opinion. I think the level of oversight and at the facilities out in the field are not as rigorous as they have been in the past. And the discipline that Rickover instilled in his operations is something to emulate, and I've always pushed it here at DOE. And my first time at the Advanced Test Reactor out in Idaho was very interesting. I had only been out of the Navy a couple of years, and I toured the ATR, and I ran into a few of the ATR operators who had been sailors working for me in years past. So I was very pleased to see that, and I saw that the quality control was there, and that was good. That was good. And obviously for facilities like reactors and other nuclear facilities, the rigor is retained, and that's always good.